We thank all in the international community, and there have been millions of people around the world who have supported our application, including a number of countries who have declared their intention to be part of our application to the International Court of Justice. We will not waver in our commitment to the Palestinian people and their quest for self-determination. Our own painful history obliges us to do no less. We thank the International Court of Justice for upholding its role of achieving justice, promoting peace, preventing genocide, and holding those responsible for genocide to be accountable.
As the African National Congress, we are elated in the sense that the world agrees with us that there's something wrong and there's something that is being done in the form of genocide, and this is what is important for us. And as a result, the whole world today have held Israel and basically make them to account, not only to account and give us the provisional order that it has given with an option of even going further in terms of ensuring that humanitarian aid is fast-tracked, but over and above that, the possibility of a total ceasefire and is very important going forward.
Are you, as the African National Congress, particularly vindicated knowing that you've stood with the struggles of the people of Palestine, from President Mandela, going to President Mbeki, President Motlanthe, President Zuma, and ultimately now President Ramaphosa, taking this bold initiative of going to the International Court of Justice and having these provisional measures placed on behalf of Israel?
Yes, it is for the first time that South Africa has taken extraordinary measures like this. But over and above that, there was no way that we can pull back. South Africa remembers that the people of Palestine cannot be forsaken. But we again applaud the huge spirit of solidarity around the globe that is with us in condemning what is happening in the Middle East, particularly the Israeli perpetrated war against the Palestinian people.
Are you prepared for any economic sanctions or economic hardships that South Africa may be having imposed by the Israeli government? We do know that the national airline of Israel has decided to cancel all of its flights coming to South Africa.
We are on the side of justice, and humanity agrees with us today. And when we were fighting apartheid, the world was on our side, and many countries took a sacrifice to fight alongside to ensure that sanctions are imposed and we are free from apartheid. Today, what South Africa is doing is right. What the people of the world are doing is right, to say stop the carnage, stop the occupation, and then guarantee self-determination for the people of Palestine. Peace and freedom is what the people of Palestine aim for, and it must be delivered.
Are you, however, not sad or taken aback that the court didn't go as far as to saying there must be an immediate humanitarian ceasefire of any conflict in that particular strip of Palestine and Gaza?
The message is conveyed. That will actually follow in relation to what, in terms of the context of the law and international law, still need to be done. So it's not an end in itself. So the judgment will be studied, and those who understand the law will actually ensure that the right decisions are pursued to the end.
Was very much about international bodies ensuring that they exercise their responsibility to protect us all as global citizens. All member states of the United Nations have attached their signatures to a range of instruments. But when lives are threatened, these instruments are not brought to bear. And South Africa had the view that we could not stand idly by and continue to observe the killing of thousands of Palestinian citizens who had no role in the awful act of hostage-taking and killing that was done by Hamas. And therefore, we thought it important that we do report and apply to the International Court of Justice, that the measures provided within the Convention for the Punishment and Prevention of Genocide are brought to bear, and that the State of Israel is called upon by the judges to act to protect civilians and to end the massive level of harm that we have seen since the Israeli action began. And we agree entirely with the judges that Hamas should release the hostages that they're currently holding. We also, in our various engagements with our partners internationally, believe the moment is now ripe for there to be negotiations for a two-state solution to end this conflict decisively.
This is a victory for the international rule of law and also for the children, the women and the vulnerable people of Gaza. It's also an assertion of a long-standing South Africa's positions with regards to the United Nations positions. And as you are aware, the Freedom Charter declared that there must be peace and prosperity across the globe. So this is a humbling experience for our country. I do believe that Nelson Mandela will be smiling in his grave.
Mr. Lamola, just the essence of the International Court falling just short of saying there must be a humanitarian ceasefire. Are you disappointed that they did not get there of saying there must be an immediate ceasefire in that particular conflict?
No, we are not disappointed because the measures that they have put, I think they will still respond. Obviously, the court has a wider discretion in terms of the decisions that it can make. So with those measures, the reports that they have to provide and all that, I do believe that we'll be able to see cessation of fire. And also, obviously, with the international pressure, with the work that we still have to do with the court, I do believe that we'll be able to reach a situation where the children of Gaza can see peace and the women and the elders in the area.
Just the reaction of NEC members, I saw them flanking you, chanting songs, just the jubilation in the National Executive Committee. What does this mean for South Africa? What does it mean for the National Executive Committee of the governing party, knowing where you come with the struggles of the people of Palestine?
Yeah, it means that our standing on principle does pays off because, as you are aware, we have been threatened that there will be sanctions and all kind of things by the West and all that. But the members of the NEC and the ANC in general across the country gave support to government. They gave us a mandate and we carried that mandate. So it means a lot for us that we've been able to stand by the principles that Nelson Mandela stood for, by the principles that various ANC structures, including government, have stood for. So we've been unwavering. That shows that you cannot at any time dispense a principle for the sake of political expediency.
Received messages from the United Kingdom where the anti-apartheid movement has actually said we are hoisting the ANC flag. We received a message from Greece that then says thank you South Africa. Remember, Greece is part of the EU. We've also received the message from the Palestinian Authority itself that says Mandela must be smiling in his grave. Thank you very much, ANC. Thanks, the people of South Africa. We've received a message from the Palestine South Africa Solidarity Movement, the people that have also been part of us, black and white, young and old, religious and non-religious, who are actually saying, convey our message to Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa and thank him on behalf of the entire solidarity movement for Palestine. But for our own members of the ANC and branches of the ANC, everybody now appreciates what is enshrined in the Freedom Charter about peace and friendship. This is all about that.
When you look at the judgment in itself and the ruling, it just fell short of saying there must be a ceasefire in the conflict between in Palestine and Israel. Are you disappointed that it did not get to that far? Or the provisions that have been put there to avoid genocide, to put in a report after the end of the month on how far you've gone with humanitarian aid and also the genocide issue, pulling back on that issue. Are you happy about that judgment?
Actually, all the conditions that have been put and matters referred to the Israeli apartheid government, in summary says ceasefire. Because how do you then make sure that there's no further atrocity against innocent women and children. How do you then talk about humanitarian aid and so forth? How do you then talk about ordinary civilians being not casualties but the main target? Because what the court also did, it referred to the statements that were uttered by representatives of the Israeli authority. One minister saying, we are instructing the Palestinian civilians to move away, failing which they will be deprived of water, they'll be deprived of the right to life. And we think what has been very important about this judgment is the tabulation of the details, as enshrined in our submission, which in summary says ceasefire now. Lastly, the judgment also calls on different bodies, because it also makes a reference to the United Nations statements, the Human Rights Commission, the Secretary General, the Undersecretary. So it actually says we all now have a responsibility to respect what the ruling actually dictates. We were correct that there is no other solution except all of us coming together and talk about peace and coexistence, because the ANC has been consistent on that. Unlike a situation where there's biasness towards one. Even the ANC statement talks about peace in Israel, peace in Palestine, and the release of those that have been kidnapped and those that have been detained. In fact, we'll be meeting the Jewish Board of Deputies, we'll be communicating with them, because everybody has to play a role to help Israel to realize that it can't be against a cause for a just humanitarian cause.